Hello everyone, this is Himdad Abdulqahar Muhammad with you again in another part from the problems of translation in the module called Translation Module Theory and Practice. Today it will be a continuation of the previous part in lesson 5, that will be part 2, where we are going to talk about another set of problems that translators might face during the translation process. Previously we talked about pluralization, we talked about passive and active, we talked about spelling and capitalization and sentence structure. In this part of the lesson we will be talking about a number of other topics, and we will start with problems encountered by translators when they deal with what is called prefixes and suffixes. Prefixes and suffixes create variety in English, and they can also turn nouns into adjectives or verbs into nouns, which can quickly become a translator's nightmare or a problem, because when the target language is not having the same flexibility of that kind, of that nature. As we said, the target language is different than the source language. In some languages, prefixes and suffixes are very active and flexible, while in others it is not very active and flexible. This group of letters that we call them affixes in general, and they are divided into prefix, that what comes before, and suffix, what comes at the end, in English usually provide a deeper meaning to words, and this makes it more difficult to translate. And there are different rules when it comes to preserving the original meaning of the word or empowering words to gain more meaning. There are several compound words, there are several suffixes and prefixes that do not give what is regular to their meaning, so they are outside the scope of regularity. By prefixes we mean the bound morpheme that is usually attached to the beginning of a word, and we have different types of this, and we give some examples that are less problematic and they are kind of regular. For example, in examples like and dislike, dislike, this is the prefix that is making it the opposite of what's preceding or what is coming after that one. So like حذی پیدا کم, dislike becomes حذی پی نکم. So this here is being translated as na, the negative part of it. On the other hand, we have happy and unhappy. Happy is دلخوش, unhappy is دلتنگ. That's the opposite of happiness. But you see that in the Kurdish version of it, it is not translated as a prefix, but the whole word has changed. In the previous one, dislike, this is translated as na for negative, while here unhappy is not pronounced as na, is not translated as na. It is the whole meaning of the word is changed. Pack and unpack. Pack, it means to gather your stuff in a luggage or کوکردنەوە یان پێچانەوە. Unpack is لێککردنەوە یان هەڵوەشاندنەوە. Lock and unlock. Lock in Kurdish it means قفلدان. Unlock it means کردنەوە. So here also the prefix un, that's for negative or for the opposite direction, it is not translated as na, but the whole meaning is changed because it is attached to a verb. Legal, illegal. Yasai, nayasai. You see now the prefix il is translated as na. Regular, irregular, again as na. Accurate, inaccurate. These are less problematic. play, replay. Replay, it means دوباره کار پێکردن. But in some other cases, prefixes can become problematic and challenging again. For example, in an example like valuable. Valuable, it means بنرخ, ذات قيمة. While you make it invaluable, that does not change it into the opposite meaning. That does not change it into the negative meaning. While it increases the value of that thing or that matter, and when we say invaluable, it means it is so precious that we cannot put a price or value for it. Another example that sometimes translators face is display. Display is one word, so this here is not a prefix that is attached to the word play. Translators must be aware of these tricky pitfalls that they might fall into. So display, it means pishandan. Discharge. Charge and discharge, even though charge has several meanings, but here also discharge, the prefix dis is said to have the opposite meaning or the opposite direction, but we have to be aware of the meaning of it, because it's not negating that, or it's kind of additional meaning given to that word. So labradini bar or labradini pabandi and iltizam lesar kasek, this is called discharge. There are several other problems with prefixes and suffixes, but as we said, we try to focus on the ones that are less problematic and some examples of problematic ones here and there. That doesn't mean that there is only these words, but the whole idea is to give a picture to the translators, so when they do translation tasks, they have to be aware of the prefixes and suffixes, because all of them do not behave in the same way. It all depends on the context, it depends on the surrounding words also. If you come to suffixes, that's the bound morpheme that's attached to the end of words in order to get more word categories. For example, kind, bazai, kindness, babazai. Manage means bareo daba as a verb. Management becomes a noun, bareo burden. Betray is a verb napaki deka, and betrayal is napaki as an adjective. Brave, aza, brevity, azayati. Brief, brief, again, b'ma'nay kurte, and brevity also, kurtbari. Poor, it means hajar in Kurdish. Poverty means hajari. But look at these two examples or three examples at the bottom. Use, it means bakar dehene. But when we make it useful, then it becomes basud. And logi as the suffix given to several other words, it becomes the signs of. So morphology, the signs of morphemes. Zoology, the science of zoo. And another problem that also translators face is sometimes they are misled by the suffix meaning. For example, hand means dust, but when it comes to handful, does not mean full of hands. It means mushtak. So here also comes the problem that translators must be aware of when they do translation. The problem of prefix and suffix seems to be apparent and seems to be easy, but several translators have come into problems when they dealt with them, and based on the humble experience that we have, several of the translation errors is because translators have taken this for granted, that prefixes and suffixes have a fixed meaning, but they do not have that. Another problem that seems to be easy also to talk about or to deal with is the problem of pronouns. Each language has its own set of pronouns that he uses in everyday language and in writings also, and languages differ in this set of pronouns. If we take, for example, English and Kurdish, English has I, he, she, it, they, we, you, and that's the ones. Each one has its own specific meaning, but each of these pronouns also has different varieties based on the use, based on the position where they come. For example, what we said pronouns, these all come in the subject position, but these pronouns also can come in the object position and can also be used for possessive issues. So I is the subject position, me would be in the object position, and my and mine also for possessive. So in Kurdish, if we translate this, I have a book, min ktebekim hai, this book belongs to me, أو كتابة بو من دقرتوا, this is my book, أو كتابي منا, this book is mine, أو كتابة هي منا. So you see the different versions or different forms of I also make differences in meaning. He also, in the same way, he, him, his, he has a pet, أو أجل كي مالي هي, this pet belongs to him, أو أجل مالي بو أو دقرتوا, this is his pet, أو أجل مالي أو, this pet is his, أو he أو, and أو أجل مالية he أو. The same thing happens with she, the same thing happens with it, and the same with they, we, and you. It, for example, has three versions: they, them, their, theirs. This could be translated as awan and he awan. We, us, our, ours. Ema, he, ema. You, your, yours. Awash dagaretwa bo to yan ewa. This is the nature of English. It uses you for singular and for plural. For example, if you say you have a nice car, to sare ki jwanet haya. This nice car belongs to you. Aw sare jwana bo to dagaretwa. This is your nice car. Awa sare jwana ki toya. And this nice car is yours. أو سيارة جوانا هي تويا. يعني لجياتي تو دتواني بلاي هي ايويا بپش بسن بو كونتكستي كا وشكاني تدا ددوزرتوا. So based on the context where you find these words, the meaning might change from singular to plural. But again, just like other issues, translating pronouns can be misleading because it is not always straightforward translation. For example, it, in addition to being a pronoun, but it has other uses also. For example, sometimes it comes in places where it is not a pronoun. It does not refer to a specific inanimate thing. In a sentence like it's raining, how do you translate it here? It is not a pronoun, but because English is a non-pro-drop language, that's why there should be something in place of subject to fill that position. Even though it is empty, it does not have any meaning here. While in Kurdish, it is a pro-drop language, you can have sentences without a subject. In English, we don't have sentences without subject, but in Kurdish we can have it. So we translate this sentence into baran dabaret. You see that the pronoun or the it part is just removed. It is not translated. Another issue with the pronoun he also, especially when it is written in capital letter, even though it is in the middle of sentence, it may refer to God Almighty, Parverdigar. That's why we have to be aware of that. his also, in his excellency, his majesty, cannot be translated as a pronoun, as we have previously mentioned, but instead there are several terms of address like janab, barez, gaura, and several others. For example, his excellency the minister, you cannot say أو barez wazir, you can just say janabi wazir. She also has another use. Sometimes she may refer to inanimate things, also refers to not only person. For example, Titanic was the largest ship. She sank in 1912. Titanic گەورەترین کەشتی بوو کە لە ساڵی 1912 نقم بوو، نقمی ژێر ئاو کەوت. See, the word she here refers to the ship Titanic, not to a person. And sometimes the pronoun you also may not refer to one specific person or even a group of person. It may be referring to the whole mankind or to the whole people and human beings. In a sentence like this, you should never trust everyone. That does not refer to you as a person or to you as a group of person. It refers to all mankind. It's kind of advice for all. So for translating this, you can say مرۆڤ دەبێ هەرگیز متمانە بە هەموو کەسێک نەکات. See, even though pronouns seem to be very easy, straightforward going and unproblematic, but in reality there might be some peculiarities and some problems and challenging if you are not giving it its due attention. Another problem that we have also talked about previously, maybe in short, is the problem of prepositions. Prepositions are very problematic and challenging for translators in almost all languages, but especially when these prepositions have more than one use, these prepositions have more than one meaning, this adds up the challenge to the translator. Just very quickly, a general overview of the common prepositions and their meanings will be presented, and then some problems also. Of or F, it has some meanings. For example, in Ministry of Interior, وزارتی ناوخۆ, in spite of, سەرەڕای, consist of, پ.د.هیمداد. You see, it has some different meanings based on what comes after or what comes before. From, he is from Kurdistan, أو خەڵکی کوردستانە, for example. It is translated as ye. While in this example, the current problems stem from lack of trust. أو گرفتانەی ئێسکتا لە نەبوونی متمانە سەرچاوەیان گرتووە. لا, from is translated as la. And if we go to the preposition to, again it has several uses, but we mention only two examples. To the market, bo bazar, and compared to, baraward ba. So you see, to or any preposition you take does not have one fixed meaning. It depends on the context. So translators must be aware of these changing position or unstableness of the meaning of prepositions. At can be used for place and can be used for time. At home, at school, and it could be for time at 9 p.m. or at 7 o'clock. In also has several meanings. In class, لپۆل, or interested in, گرنگی دەدات بە. On also, on the table, لەسەر مێز, and depend on, پشت دەبەستێت بە. These seem to be very easy, but even these prepositions have some challenges, especially when they have special uses, and we talk about them in a minute. So, when talking about prepositions, let's take some examples that are problematic. What we have mentioned previously are the common and the regular uses of prepositions, but there are several places where prepositions change their meaning or add up the meaning to what they follow or what they precede based on the context. For example, at the edge of extinction, لسر لێواری لەناوچوون یان فەوتان. At risk, لەمەترسیدایە. In the red, for example, when you say the company is still in the red, قەردارە. On duty, لكاتي أرقدا. For example, when you say, sorry, I cannot answer your call because I am on duty. On call, for example, I work as a translator with a company, but it's on call. It means whenever they call me or whenever I receive a call, then I am ready to go there. On purpose, بمبست. He did that on purpose. On time, it means punctual. لكاتي دياري كراوي خوي. In time, sometimes you come a little bit earlier or later, so it is different than on time. See, so prepositions, even though they seem to be straightforward and even though they seem to be easy to translate, but they are not, and they are problematic. The last thing we talk about for today is another very important problem, and it is again within the linguistic problems, and we call it lexical semantic problems. These problems usually include terminology alternatives, semantic gap, where there is a word in the source language, but that word does not have an equivalent in the target language, and contextual synonyms and antonyms. If we take one example as a clarification, you see that in English language, for cold and hot, we have some degrees. So what is very cold is called chilly, and then cold, and then what is medium is called cool, and we have warm, and we have hot, and we have others also, other degrees. But let's take only this 5 scale as an example. If we translate that into Kurdish, so chilly, we don't have a specific word for it, we just add the quantifier zor for it, zor sard. Cold becomes sard, cool becomes fenik, which is nearer to sard. Warm, we don't have an equivalent except when it is used for liquid, shilaten, but it's only for liquid, it's not for weather. You cannot say kashu hawa shilatena. It is only used for liquid, but not for weather. And we have hot, and the equivalent is garam. So you see that there is a semantic gap. In Kurdish, we don't have a word, a lexical item, to be equivalent to warm when it is used for weather. For example, the weather is chilly, the weather is cold, the weather is cool, the weather is warm, and the weather is hot. But there is a semantic gap. So in order to solve this problem, then you have some choices. One of the choices is to use a modifier with it. For example, in order to say jawaka germa, because garam means hot, you can say kamek germa, you can say kamek sarda, you can say kamek fenika, barau germia, you can say barau germia. So you have some choices to make in order to find an equivalent for warm as an example, or any other semantic gap that you might come across between source language and target language. We know that words are borrowed between languages, and they are loan words that Kurds have taken from English, from Arabic, Arabs have taken from them, and so on. If we take one example, for instance, garage in the English community or in the Western community is a place where cars get fixed and where cars fix their flat tires and even change the oil and all that. So it's a place where cars are taken care of or fixed. While this word, when it is being borrowed from English into Kurdish, the meaning has changed. The meaning has changed into two different meanings, which is not used in the English community. For example, garage in Kurdish is shweni wastani automobil, and sometimes it is used also to refer to a place, a terminal. What we call it a terminal in English. شوێنی کۆبوونەوەی سیارە یان ئۆتۆمبیل کە لە هێڵی نێوان شارەکان کار دەکەن. So any translator must be aware of these semantic problems that loan words also will take, not only semantic gaps but also the changes in the meaning of the words. And you can think of the word park, you can think of the word cousin also to refer to that one, where maybe in the coming lessons we will go into more detail about these semantic developments and the problem of translating loan words or borrowed words from other languages. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for your attention. Stay tuned for the other parts and other lessons. Thank you.